Hello, Redditors. Hello, challenge fans. It is not Levi introducing you to the podcast this week. It is me, because I've had a few beers and I'm feeling a bit uppity. We would like to welcome you to a very, very special edition of the podcast today, where we would like to bring on arguably the most wonderful person to ever host a challenge show, the wonderful Devyn Simone. But because I've had a few, I can't do this alone. I would like to introduce you to my co-host, the brains, the beauty, the wonderfulness of our own podcast. It's only Levi Hall. How are you doing?
Hello, George. That's George, by the way. He forgot to introduce himself. He has had a few drinky poos. And when he says the beauty, that's definitely not true if you've seen the cover of this podcast. How are you doing, George?
You're not lying. It's not your best work. I'm very, very happy. I think we obviously give a bit of an insight into the Redditors. We're now recording this after the main portion of the interview. I'm not always just in this kind of state. But Levi, take it away. I'm forgetting what I'm going to say.
Well, basically, what I decided to do, George, because you've set me this Levi challenge, which is climbing the Rock of Gibraltar, Everesting style, on the flights of stairs in my building. So my plan is to just get as many interviews with cast and people connected with the challenge as possible, for you to forget you've set me this, so I can get away with it. No, I'm only joking. I promise I will still do it. It is Monday when we're posting this, but we are recording this on Friday. So I haven't done it yet, but I may have done it by Monday. I think I'm most likely to do it on Tuesday. But yes, as you said, George, this is a wonderful moment. It's a wonderful day, and it's a wonderful podcast, because we are sitting down with the wonderful Devyn Simone, the host of the Challenge Aftermath over on the Challenge YouTube channel, to discuss her time on the real world, to discuss love, to discuss her time on the challenge, her finals, and most importantly, to discuss the Challenge Aftermath over on the MTV YouTube channel, and also to find out how on earth us Redditors can get the wonderful Devyn Simone to host the reunion of the challenge Spies, Lies and Allies.
Which I think for us is priority one. I don't actually mind the last few hosts they've had, but I can only imagine how, I actually like the reunions. I can only imagine how much better they'd be with them. You're not a fan, and actually neither was Alan, Alan McGuire, R.I.P. Grotland, who came on our reaction show. He also Aguirre, sorry, I can't help being Miss British. But he is also not an overwhelming fan of reunions. Do you think having Devyn Simone hosting it would change your opinion?
I think the great thing about the wonderful Devyn Simone is she's got insight, she's got beauty, but most of all, she's got charisma. And, you know, speaking of hosts that people don't mind, but would rather have the wonderful Devyn Simone, I don't think they want to listen to us right now. So without further ado, let's see what happens when the Redditors sat down with the wonderful Devyn Simone. So let's all welcome, it's only Devyn Simone. How are you doing, Devyn?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, we are good. It's I was about to say it's nice and sunny here in London, but it's kind of not. It just rains, and then it's sunny, and then it rains again.
Are you used to that though? Isn't that how it goes?
We had a very lovely May.
That's the first lie of the podcast there already. Good start, Levi. Just taking Spies, Lies and Allies.
May was good. I was spying outside during May, looking through the windows. But yeah, we've had a bit of a chat off record, but I don't think people need to know about Ed Sheeran and football teams.
I learned a lot.
But no, we are very excited to have you on, Devyn. You are the hostess with the mostess over on the Challenge Aftermath, and may we say you do a fantastic job on that show.
Thank you. That means so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we're really, really excited to have you here. We've actually, every time we bring you up on the podcast, you've got your own little title. We refer to you as the wonderful Devyn Simone without fail every time. And
you guys.
There is no one more wonderful to us. And yeah, we're just really excited to have you here and talk about your MTV journey, your challenge journey, and your thoughts on Spies, Lies and Allies.
So I think, no, when we talk about your MTV journey, let's start at the beginning. We obviously had Coach Devyn on Tiara Girls.
Oh my God, the fact that you know that is insane. Yes. How do you know that? Why do you know, that?
Because despite what many of our listeners think, we are highly professional and do our research. You were quite strict on that show from what I've researched.
Oh my God, I don't even, I certainly remember filming it. I actually have a photo. I was thinking about posting that sometime soon with the producers when they filmed that back home. But yeah, I was a pageant coach for a while after doing pageants. I then became a coach. And yeah, I was a bit of a hard ass. That's fair. That's probably accurate. Mm-hmm.
I would expect nothing less from Miss American Teen 2005.
You do your research. Look at you, Levi. I don't know if I should be excited or scared.
Be excited, please be excited. We kind of first got to know you on Real World Brooklyn. You were on that show along with people like Sarah Rice, who we know from the challenge, Chet, JD.
Yep.
I think it was the first season they had 8 people on as well, wasn't it?
It was the first season that they had 8 people and a dog. You guys saw the dog earlier. Oh, he's laying right here.
I was going to say, is it the same dog from Real World?
It is Brooklyn. This is Brooklyn the dog. And he's like, you just woke me up. Why? He turns 13 in a couple weeks. And I got him when he was 8 weeks old on the show. So we're today actually around, say, March the 13th anniversary of when we filmed Real World's Brooklyn, when we started filming. And this was the best thing to come out of it because I got him on the show.
And so he is technically going to be 91 years old.
He's old as hell. He's going bald in some spots. Poor thing had cancer last year, but we got it surgically removed. He thinks he's young though. He thinks he's young, but he's old. Right, Brookie?
I'm sure George will agree. We all like to think we're young nowadays.
Leave me alone. I'm coming up to a big birthday this year and I'm in a massive state of midlife crisis at the moment.
How old are you turning, George?
It's the title of one of the challenge seasons that starts with dirty.
Oh,
you're a baby, George. You're young.
Young, George.
Yeah, you're a child.
Yes, but I'm also shouldn't be giggling at the things I giggle at the age of 30.
I mean, but you're a guy, so I feel like you're probably good.
Perfect. Probably. I am now Devyn approved to laugh at whatever I like. Can I get that in writing?
You can get it in writing, and happy early 30th birthday, George.
Thank you very much. That makes it easier.
It's going to be a dirty birthday. It's going to be a dirty birthday. Now, from what I remember, you were studying theatre and music study. No, you had a theatre study and music studies major, didn't you, when you went into the real world?
I did. I went to college. I was a dual major in theater and music, knowing I wouldn't use those degrees, but I just loved both. And I went to an all-girl Catholic school, and my school was very strict and in high school. And so the requirement to graduate is not only you had to have a certain GPA, but that you had to have college acceptance. So you had to have intention accepted and like be admitted into college, because they have 100% college, I don't know what you call it, like graduation rate or acceptance rate or whatever else for the school. So you had to, like, there was you couldn't. Now what you did after you got to college was on you, but you had to. So and my parents were really big on that too. My family was in general, but I told them, look, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go for 2 years. I said, then I'm going to get my own show or get a show. I said, I'm going to be on the show, not as like a background person, but I was like, I'm going to get put on a show as like a main member, and then I'm going to leave and pursue my career. I had no idea what I was talking about. I literally just I was delusional. But sure enough, almost 2 years exactly, I did college for 2 years, got cast on Real World, and then moved to New York and haven't looked back. So
this is why you're such a pro interviewer. You've done my segue for me, so thank you very much. I did want to ask about your real world experience. Actually, what was your experience like? Generally, this sounds stupid, but how real was the world? Did the producers let you kind of just get onto your own devices, or was there a bit of guidance to get some situations out of you?
Yeah, I always have mixed feelings when I see in the comments about reality shows like Real Housewives, whatever, and people, you know, so authoritatively say, oh, it's all scripted, like da da da, and basically it's like they're loud and wrong. So real world's a little different than the challenge. It's not scripted. However, it is heavily edited. So things aren't always in order. For example, like Brooklyn, I got him probably within the first few weeks of us being in the house, but they don't actually show him until like the second to last episode. It seems like we did it at the end. They do a thing called Frankenbiting, which is super terrible. So it's like I could say, oh, I really like Levi, and then later I could say, oh my God, my first kiss when I was 13. And they can literally splice those things together to make it sound like I said, like, I like to kiss Levi or something. And they do that sometimes.
Devyn, we were meant to keep that secret.
Sorry,
that wasn't meant to be out. Exclusive, sorry, guys, Levi. Exclusive.
I hope your significant other isn't mad at me. No, but they do that certainly in the real world. They did that around my roommate Scott. Like there were things I know I didn't say that are said, and you always know when they're doing it because they will cut away from the interview. So it's like if you don't see the person literally physically saying that, you just like hear it, then there's a chance that they have edited that together for sake of story. So I actually don't watch my real world season because it's sort of cringy. I also was really worried about offending people coming out of pageantry. And so I was myself, but I was always caught in a place of like, even if I was thinking something, I wouldn't necessarily say it because how would people react? So in the end, what happened, and I learned my lesson, is if you don't tell your story, the editors will. Meaning they can manipulate and put out and kind of make it seem however. So I don't love watching I loved doing it. It was a wonderful experience. I love my dog. He's my best friend, 13 years strong. But I love that it moved me to New York. But of all the work I've done, it's probably not my favorite. And I think least representative of who I am. Also, I'm really good friends. The guy that came to visit me in my real world season, who was my college boyfriend, and we had broken up. At the time, they called him my fiance a lot on the show. We weren't engaged. We'd broken up because he was a dick as a boyfriend back then. We're good friends now, so it's fine. But I never wanted to put him on blast. So I feel like this episodes made it look like I was sort of playing with his heart and being really mean and all of these other things, when in reality, I was actually trying to protect him, like why we broke up, because he was a dick. But it just got like really messy. So when I came to the challenge, I very much was like, you know what? I'm gonna just be me, because they're gonna hate you either, not hate you, but people are gonna have opinions either way. So I'm not going to try and censor this or that. I'm just gonna be me, and that worked out so much better.
And as you continue to segue into our next set of questions, the consummate professional Devyn Simone, I think we need to change up that nickname, because it was 3 years before we saw you on the challenge. It was you, Chet, Sarah, and JD. Challenge Battle of the Seasons. What made you agree to be on the show? Because I think Sarah had done it beforehand, but it was your first try. And what was the experience like? And it was new because it was this team of 4 concept. So how did you find Battle of the Seasons?
So I actually had been asked to do the challenge right after my real world season, and I said yes. And then I sat on the contract for like weeks. And then my then publicist at the time, I wasn't sure for what I wanted to do, if it was the right move. And I actually wasn't very familiar with the challenge at that point. Whereas I think some people had gone into the real world wanting to do the challenge, like we're huge fans of it. So I sat on it, and then at the last minute pulled out, like decided maybe it wasn't the best move. And I think I was still not traumatized from my real world experience, but a little like trying to figure it all out. So I declined last minute, and I actually thought that it felt like eternity at the time, but it's funny hearing you say 3 years. So I'm like, oh, that wasn't that long at all. It felt like eternity because I thought MTV is never going to call me again, because I told them yes, and then bailed, right? So it felt like eternity. They did call me again. And then when I did it, how was the experience? I mean, it was great. Both of my challenge experiences for me were life-changing. Free Agents even more so than Battle of the Seasons, but Battle of the Seasons, I learned a lot, got to experience some amazing things, had so much fun, got to meet people, some of the greats that are still on the show now and doing it. yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I didn't die, but it was a wonderful experience.
I can make that work as a segue. Speaking of almost dying, you had to do what is one of the hardest finals I've seen in Namibia. It's actually one of Levi's favorites, along with Raw of the Worlds one. I'm pretty certain he just loves sand.
I love sand so much.
There was so much of it, Levi. So much of it.
All the sand. You got all the sand.
It's gonna be our first podcast holiday, just taking Levi to the sandiest places on the planet. But the final itself, like, what are your main memories of that? Does it kind of blur into one? Is there bits that stick out? I can't believe you managed to do it in a wig as well. That was incredible. Greatest endurance feat I've ever seen. But just main memories of the final.
The first thing I think of or remember of it is literally limping through the airport on the way home. Like, my feet were so swollen. This is like TMI, but I lost like 2 toenails, like, because no actual athlete ever competes in something super grueling in brand new shoes that they didn't pick themselves, that they had never tried on, which is effectively what we did. And so you see Chet really like berate me over my shoes and running slow. Granted, I don't have good endurance, I'll tell you that now. And it's probably gotten worse. But part of the problem was those shoes hurt like hell for me and didn't fit well. And so, and that was my first final, so I didn't know what to expect around that. And I mean, I literally limped. I remember getting off the plane was over like limping from my feet still being swollen and just like bruised and terrible. And again, I lost 2 toenails, not voluntarily, like just from rubbing against the shoes because we ran 22 miles in the desert. And yeah, it was a lot. I do remember, my favorite part was probably holding the rope to the camel because we got to stand still for a while. I remember that some of the sand dunes you would just roll down because like they were so high. It was like climbing straight up. Some of them were so steep. And as you're running, the flags of where we were supposed to go were so far apart that you literally would run and get to one flag, and only then would you be able to see the next flag of where you're supposed to go. Like, they were spaced out that far, and you're just running through the desert, straight. So I was so proud when I finished, but man, oh man, it was like, I had no idea what I'd gotten myself into.
Well, incredible work finishing. Also, I think I'm now going to change one of your all-time greatest quotes. When they ask what got you to the final, and I think it's for free agents, but I'll jump around because I always do it. It's brains, heart, boobs, and now toenails. Yeah. Those toenails, they sacrifice. Tamara the wig gets the credit for sacrificing in free agents, but really my toenails sacrificed a lot in battles and seasons. And fortunately they did grow back. They're so they're fine. Nobody can tell now, but man, that was rough.
But it didn't put you off returning to the show because Devyn Simone, you have an unblemished final record. You have got to a final on all seasons of the challenge. They asked you back for free agents, which I think was challenge 25.
Yes.
And not only did you get to the final, you avoided going into elimination. You played a fantastic game. I think one of my favorite bits I saw it this morning when I was just rewatching some of your clips was when you all went to the kind of cottage bit before the final, and you went, I'm going to do the final at my own pace. So whoever's paired with me, you're going at Devyn's pace.
Yes.
And I think it was, you had Bananas, you had Johnny
Zach
Riley,
first.
and Zach were the 3 guys, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
And you were against Laurel and Nanny?
Laurel and Nani, yep. That was it. That's correct.
And this was the first ever individual season that the challenge did. What were your thoughts on free agents? I know you said that you really enjoyed it compared to Battle of the Seasons. What were your thoughts on it? Because there were so many kind of big name challenges there.
Yeah. I mean, I will try to keep it brief about free agent, and not wax poetic about it, but no promises. So free agents was a lot of things. So going in, I had no real again, I kind of was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but let's go for it. And when I found out that initially that they were going to be mixing up pairs, it was going to be an individual game, a part of me was kind of like, oh shit, made it to the final last time. I do want to clarify something on Battle of the Seasons that I don't know that I openly talked about a lot. I think I did in our reunion, but in Battle of the Seasons, there was a misconception that my team either kept me around or like that's why I made it to the final. And certainly I was paired with a very competent and capable team. But I think anyone else in the house will tell you the reason why Brooklyn made it to the final was because the political game that people say that I play kept their ass out of fire. They went in, I had two of the most hated people in the house on my team, just true story. And I'm dear friends with Chet now, but I just did. They ran their mouth. They were like kind of cocky. People didn't like them, which is why we kept getting voted in the beginning. And so not only did I play fair for my team by volunteering to go in, like as we were getting voted in, sort of made the pact that like, I'll volunteer this next round, regardless of who it is. And I stuck with that. But also when we started winning challenges, if you notice, on Battle of the Seasons, I was the one who would always deliver the news or the verdict of who we were voting in. That was on purpose because they felt and they knew that if I were the one delivering the bad news, we'd take less of a hit. And I'd be able to smooth it over, which is what happened. So towards the end, we weren't getting voted in anymore when we could have and should have, because either it was a time when the other cast members knew it would be me and JD going in because we had set up this volunteer alternating thing, or because I got along with the cast members. So while I wasn't an asset in running in the final, I was certainly an asset in getting there and getting to that point. And I would bet money that the team wouldn't have made it that far had my ability to connect with the other players in the house stepped in. And then I think that was able to be shown in free agent. So part of me was like, oh shit, because individual game, y'all know endurance is not my thing. And also I've always said, and I know some challenge fans may hate this, but like what I do now is literally my dream job, literally my dream, and why I did the challenges, to be honest. And if it ever came down to something where I was hurting myself, like where Chet was in the elimination in free agents and his chin was just bloodied and he quit and people gave him such shit for that. And I actually think that's where the friendship really kind of bonded us, is like I stood behind Chet both in the house and like vocally, and still do now, because while some people will fight to win at any cost and mad respect, depending on what you want to do, like if I was getting cut, it would have been a no-brainer for me. And that's part of why I turned down All-Stars recently, because like if I was injured, I wouldn't be able to do these other things that I genuinely love, right? So yeah, so I was nervous on free agents and like, oh hell, that part's gonna be hard. But I was excited to be able to not have to worry about what my team was doing and are they getting in trouble and causing problems, and really just get to be in the house and get to know each of the individuals.
I say you kind of already touched on what I was going to ask next, actually, but the fact that it was your dream job and it's something you always wanted to do, was that always your end goal? You said you did the challenge because of it, but is it like how you imagined? I think is kind of what I want to know about that, actually.
Yeah, so I did real world and then subsequently challenge because of where I am now and where I want to be. And is it everything I imagined? The other day on premiere day, I sent our producer and then the one who's over MTV Digital, the two that are over MTV Digital, like voice notes, and just telling them how much I love them, appreciate them, love working with them. And it really is a dream come true. And it's hard. Like sometimes we shoot those things, the schedules are crazy. Like my boyfriend will tell you, I was coming home the week that we were doing that and literally just like hitting the couch and just falling asleep. So tired, but it's an honor and I don't take that for granted, and I will never take that for granted. And I also appreciate you guys and everyone who watches. And yes, I do read Reddit from time to time. I try and strike a balance. I try to
posted the other day
comments
as well.
Yeah, I do. And I'm not great at responding to my DMs, but everyone who sent a sweet DM, I appreciate it. I'm just not, I try to like balance my mental sanity, but yeah, like to me, it's very much a community. So even being where I am now in the challenge, I don't see it as me being here individually. I feel like we're all there. Like I'm taking all of you guys with me, and I try and reflect that in the questions and the games. I know some people love the games, some people hate them. I love the games. But yeah, it's everything that I hope for and more, and it continues to get better. And I'm so grateful. If I died tomorrow, I'd die with a smile on my face, knowing I at least have accomplished so many things in my dream role that I've always wanted.
On behalf of all viewers, please don't die tomorrow. But the challenge would be significantly worse.
And George, take note. I look forward to the voice notes every single week. But I think, it's nice what you say about it being your dream job, because I think one of the things that people say about work is the best thing about work is when it doesn't feel like it's work. And it really sounds like that for you. And I think, one of your first big presenting gigs was Love at First Swipe on TLC, because you're known to be quite the dating expert, Devyn.
I am. So my normal job is that of a matchmaker. And I've always had opinions on dating. And if you watch one of the episodes, I don't recall which one, on Free Agents, after the credits roll, sometimes they'll show clips, right, of kind of like things that didn't make the episode, but like of us in the house doing stuff. And one of them shows me on a couch and having much of the cast in the living room. And we would do these segments called Dr. Devyn. And I would advise couples in the house. And I remember we had one that was Brandon and LaToya, I think, at one point, and I can't recall who else. And the whole cast would get into it. Like, they would call me Dr. Devyn, and we would like do these little things, and it would be me interviewing them. So yeah, it's crazy when people tell me, when we are shooting or when I'm on set, people, some people sometimes might be like, oh my God, you're good at your job. And it's weird hearing them say that, because it's like, oh yeah, it's a job, even honestly realizing like, no, I need to ask them to pay me what I'm worth, because I would have done it for free a long time ago because I love it so much. But now, no, you've got to pay me. Like, we've established a precedent, you got to pay me. But yeah, it's wonderful. And I think having been in the challenge house gives me a unique perspective in doing this for the challenge, right? Because I was there, I've lived it. Love at First Swipe was amazing because I co-created that show, co-produced that show with Clinton. And so it was really like a baby, because I got to be involved and realize I love not just being in front of the camera and sharing people's stories, but I love the creative process that goes behind it as well.
So, Dr. Devyn, I have a question. What advice would you give a couple of single British lads? Let's call them, for example, I don't know, Schmorge and Schmevi. What advice would you give these charming British lads on how to be successful in dating? Because not working so far.
Apart from to change our names from Smorge and Smevi, it's
going to catch on. Back. It's unique. It's a talking point on a date.
That is a talking point. A good one, I don't know, but it is a talking point. The first thing I would say is just creating opportunity is like the biggest thing, right? Creating opportunity and knowing what kind of the top qualities are for you, like that are most important for you, because it's easy to get distracted by the shiny. Finding someone who is trying to go the same direction that you want to go in life, whatever that looks like. Like, it doesn't mean it could be something ambitious. It could be if you want the picket fence, if you want whatever, but you guys should be kind of genuinely excited about going in a similar direction automatically. And then tune everyone else out is the other thing. Like, don't let them. So I'm very private about my relationship now. So I was engaged. I've actually been engaged twice. I called off, I was supposed to be getting married in June of this year, actually, and I called it off at the end of last year. And it unfortunately had to do with issues of race. Like, his family did not approve of me being Black and made it known. It just became insurmountable, which is a real shame. But the greatest thing that ever happened, I'm in a wonderful, healthy, and relationship now with someone whose family is also equally amazing. But being just like protecting your relationship, I think, is important. And then the one other piece, and I think the thing that's even gotten me in trouble, and I see it with clients a lot, and this is probably going to sound really vague to you guys, but one day it'll click and you'll be like, Devyn. I tweeted about it recently. Dr. Devyn. All doctors are going to hate me for that. I'm not actually qualified. I have clients who actually are doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists. But figure out your childhood traumas. Like, and even if you came from a loving home where your parents are still happily married, that still actually will affect how you perceive relationships, and not even just romantic ones, but your friendships. And so I didn't realize that and I have great relationships with my parents. My parents are divorced. My mom's remarried. I have great relationships with all three of my parents, my stepdad, my dad, and my mom, and they have good relationships. But there were things growing up in that I carried over even up until last year that I hadn't fully addressed or like realized around doing the emotional work for other people. So like doing the hard stuff or like kind of making sure they're okay. It's actually what helped me be good at politics in the challenge, truthfully, is because I'm used to feeling out other people's emotions. How are you doing? And supporting them, sometimes to the detriment of my own feelings or like needs. And so that explains how I got into the relationships that I was in, and I'm much more aware of that now, and I've reconfigured friendships, romantic relationships, and it's really been a game changer. But just if you know that, it'll save you so much. We've all heard, you know, you date someone like your mom or you date someone like your dad, or you date, and really what they're saying is that your childhood experiences affect how you are going into things. And when you start to at least get a grasp on that, it's a game changer in the people you pick and how you date and your relationship. So that would be the most crucial. And if you can't figure it out, I know, like, look, a great therapist is great. And Instagram doesn't count as therapy. I actually found my therapist on Instagram. She's a licensed real therapist though. But therapy, because everybody has blind spots, and a good therapist will help you just see those blind spots. The last analogy I'll say about it is, imagine you were trying to park a semi truck, right? Or like a big rig truck. Could you back it into a parking spot on your own? Probably. Even if you're a professional truck driver, of course you can. And even if you're not one, eventually you probably could. But would it take so much longer doing it on your own, because you're going to back out, then you're going to get out of the truck, see how far you have to go, get back in the truck, try and guess it, get out. Or if you have someone with a walkie-talkie standing behind the truck going, okay, Levi, okay, George, back up 2 more inches, 2 more inches. Stop. Like, is that easier? Like, are you more likely to finish backing the truck into the parking spot when you have someone who can see your blind spots and communicate those to you than if you're trying to do it on your own? Absolutely. It is the same thing here. Even doctors have doctors. So I can't stress enough how important a good therapist is. Not all of them are good, some of them are crazy. But how important a good one is, and how that can help you just in life, in your friendships, and in your romantic relationships, and in the challenge.
Bring it back to the challenge every time.
Yeah. There's one bit that I just want to address. I'm sorry you went through what you went through with the last engagement, but it's lovely the way you describe how you've come out of it stronger in a better position. So I just wanted to not let that one go without. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And shout out to my boyfriend, Adam. Like, he really is. He's amazing in so many things I didn't even realize I wanted. And he was on set with me at Aftermath, which was amazing. And I went to a watch party for the premiere of the challenge the other day, and he went and like was so kind to everyone and made friends essentially. And so just having a partner, again, when you heal your own childhood trauma, you realize, you know, I came out of that realizing like, oh, I'm not doing anyone's emotional work anymore. So then it allowed me to get a better partner who can really be like a teammate. And so thank you for that. I appreciate it. And it was, I would wish it on no one, because being discriminated against someone you care about is just terrible. And yes, it still happens. But if it had to happen to someone, I'm so glad it happened to me, so that I can hopefully share that to help other people. And because I wouldn't be here. Like, truthfully, even my work life has been exponentially better since I called that off. So like, it's a win. It's great.
So actually, speaking of your work life, and I did want to chat about this as well. You said you came up with the concept for Love at First Swipe with your co-producer. How did the challenge aftermath start? Were you involved in the creative process for that, or did they call you because you're the most charismatic person to ever be on the challenge?
And wonderful,
and truly wonderful.
Thank you. I'm trying to think of how much tea I should spill.
All of it.
All the
tea. A teapot full. The same amount you dumped in the Boston Harbor when we had that bit of disagreement a while ago.
Yeah. You guys are still recovering from that. So how the Aftermath came to be. So I've been back in the challenge family for some years now, because about 5 years ago, I started doing the Universal Challenge integration. So that was when they would hold mini challenges on Universal Studios lot. And I hosted, they called me to host that. And so it's super fun, super great. Fun fact, that's also how All Stars came to be, because the last one we did that did not air because of COVID's such a hater, featured Mark Long. And while there, Mark Long kind of came up or was toying with the idea, because we brought some other old schoolers back on that particular one. And Mark Long came up with the idea of how great it would be to do one where you get people who hadn't done it in a very long time. And so that was, I think, sort of the catalyst for All Stars, and he made it happen and made it happen quickly. So props to Mark.
Was Rachel on that, or did I imagine that?
Yes, it was. So that was it.
And
Yes,
Derek
Rachel
K.
was on that one. Derek was on one
No.
before. Derek's been on it, but he was on one before. Darrell's been on it. Sarah's been on it. Jimmy, Hunter, Devyn. Why can't I think of his name? Jeremiah, Devon. Like, we've had quite a few. It's been 5 years, so we've had quite a few. Cara, quite a few people, and it's gotten bigger. It was getting bigger and bigger. Like, the one we had done for last year was the biggest one we had done yet. And at the end, they started a segment called Tea Time with Devyn. And the producers, they bought a tea set, and it was me interviewing the competitors of that one. And again, that will likely never make air, but I think what happened, that was a very interesting interview. That's all I can say. It was just a very interesting interview. There were some blow ups, some shock moments. It was very interesting. That part will never see air, I know for a fact, but I think that at least showed the team at MTV, because apparently the video of that circulated in MTV, and showed that, like, look, I can host, which is sort of crazy. Like, I do it on the Wendy show. I helped co-host a couple episodes when she was out a few years ago. I co-host on Amazon Live. I'm one of their resident hosts. So, like, I can host, but for whatever reason, MTV has, like, treated me like the baby of the family, even though I'm not, meaning like, can she do it? And so I'm thankful for the digital team, Eddie, Eric, Andy, who have always pushed for me to be able to, they were in charge of the Universal thing, so they gave me that opportunity, but they pushed for me to be able to do more. And Eric and Andy are in charge of the aftermaths now. And so, yeah, they called right after I moved back to New York, actually. And they've known that I've wanted to do that, and it's just getting bigger and better all the time.
And speaking of bigger and better, it's become such a big part of the Challenge family and the franchise now. You had it for Double Agents, you had it for All Stars, you've got it now on what seems to be an even bigger scale now that COVID's calming a bit, and you can get them in the studio and things like that. And they're longer episodes. I think the last one was about half an hour. I watched it straight after the episode.
I actually was shocked by that. I mean, when we shoot them, they run about an hour and a half. It's how much time we allot for them. But usually, when we first did them for Double Agents, it'd be like 18-minute clips or 20-minute clips. And All Stars, it was a little longer. And when I saw, that now I know this was a particularly packed episode 1, but the fact that they're making them longer. I mean, look, our goal, I think, is to potentially get it to linear, meaning like on MTV. Although I kind of like it on YouTube because people can watch it that maybe don't have cable access as much, or what, for whatever reason, it makes it a little bit more accessible. But it is a full-blown, it's become a full-blown talk show. Like that is what it is.
You'd think as well that it would be a good idea to actually put on MTV, because my understanding of American TV is it works in hours, and with the Challenge being an hour and a half, they have to find a half-hour show to put in. So obviously they put cribs in now.
It doesn't have to just work in hours. It can be half hours. Like, they have different shows.
Oh, but I mean, like, they're trying to fill that extra half hour, aren't they? Which is what they've done with cribs.
Well,
but just,
with cribs,
just
right?
Sticking Double Agents on straight away. You know what Challenge fans are like. They just watch the aftermath. They'd be like, we need more Challenge.
Yeah, and this season, let me say on the aftermath, they cut a lot of stuff from the previous seasons because it got to a point that I was getting so much openness from the cast and like inside information that they couldn't air it on the aftermath because there would be no point of a reunion. Like, we were getting them to drop, like, there's so much stuff that you guys didn't get to see. This time, my hope is that they're pushing and leaving a little bit more, because the cast is really open with me, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, like, this season, if you're really a fan of the Challenge, you have to watch Aftermath, because there are missing pieces of the puzzle that you will not get to see on the show that often come out in Aftermath, for sure. Starting with episode 1, that was a huge piece of the puzzle that, like, wasn't in the actual story. But
we learned Amanda was the kind of person that told Emmy to talk about the list.
Yeah, and I don't even think people in the house fully knew that, it seemed. I mean, Michaela was shocked by that. Nani, a lot of people didn't really understand the role. And I think it was important for that to be told because, Emmy came across as less likable to some degree because it seemed like she tried to just throw Michaela under the bus, depending on how you like the game to be played or whatever. But in reality, Amy was just asked a question and answered it as anyone would. It wasn't that she went looking for trouble or like looking to, put someone on, and nobody knew that. That story wasn't told. Michaela didn't know that. No one else really knew that. And so I think it took some of the heat off of Emmy, especially because Amanda's comfortable being the villain, whereas Emmy is new. And so I think that was important to see, and also really surprising because, at that point, no one knew Amanda had any involvement at all when she actually was like the mastermind.
I think what's great about this season as well is that for obvious reasons, it was all kind of Zoom last season, but now you're actually with, at least the American lot, they're there face to face with you. You get that interaction, which I think is harder to get online. But of course, you've still got the internationals dialing in over Zoom. Do you love Kyle as much as we love Kyle?
I love Kyle, and I give him, I don't have any favorites at all. I have to be neutral, right? And they're all like a part of our dysfunctional family. But the ones I give the shit to the most, you could probably say I have a special soft spot for because they allow it and take it. So like, I give Kyle so much shit, and he knows, but he, I think, knows that like, I'm doing that because I love you and I'm playing with you and I know you can handle it. Same with Fessy. I give him shit a lot. This season, you'll see I give Nelson shit a lot. Like, and Amanda, and like, everyone's really good about it. But I think it's harder when it's Zoom sometimes because you don't get to meet in person and feel that warmth and know like, I'm not coming for you, I'm just playing with you. And I think that's, as some of the new rookies get to know me more, we'll see that that's the role. Like, I give everyone shit on All Stars. I gave myself shit for dating Big Easy and having Big Easy on the show, right? So like, I give everyone shit. It's equal opportunity. But I adore Kyle. He's such a good sport. He's also hilarious. I think his interviews are so funny, and he's like self-absorbed but owns it, which is like hilarious and funny. So I adore Kyle.
Him and Devyn are like the perfect British American equivalents of each other.
They really are. I feel like Dev is fun, but Dev is actually a little more sensitive. He'll be mad I said that, I'm sure, but like, he's someone you have to be mindful of how you tease him because he will get offended. He won't say that, but he definitely will. Whereas players, like I said, like Kyle or Fessy, and I even this season told Fessy, because I gave him a lot of shit in Double Agents, like, thanks for being a good sport, and he was like totally cool and great with it. Same with Corey. Corey gives me shit. So yeah, like those I love, where I don't have to filter, again, that emotional work, right? Like, I don't have to dance around. I can just kind of tease you and you can give it right back and we can have fun. I hope the fans love that and getting to see that side. And I certainly love it because it just makes it fun. Like, you can't take yourself too seriously. And there are serious issues and conversations, but like, you want to be able to kind of laugh about it too.
I think that's why and this isn't kind of blowing smoke up your, so to speak, but I think this is the reason that the fans love you so much on that show, is because you're so natural. Like, it doesn't seem like, I'm not going to say anything about any of the reunion hosts specifically, but there are some reunion hosts that we watch and you can tell they have been brought in, they've been paid, and they're hosting a reunion and they're reading off auto cue and they're reading their questions. You seem like you love doing the show. You've got this great rapport with everyone on the show. You understand the game as well. And it's like, I almost see you as like the female Miz.
Wait, I don't know if that's a good thing. No.
Surprise, Devyn starring in WWE Raw.
You never know. No, Miz is great. I think the difference though is like, Miz went into Real World because he wanted to be a wrestler, right? Yeah. And like, I went into it because I wanted, I didn't know hosting at the time. I didn't even know that at my Real World season. I knew I wanted to be in storytelling, in TV. Like, I love that. And so I nerd out. Like, I made the producer. So Aftermaths technically don't get credits listed. You notice that you don't see credits roll at the end of Aftermath, right? But I've been told that if it gets to that point, I will have a producer's credit because I help with the creative process because I genuinely love it that much. I like hounded our producer Jonathan, who I adore, to let me sit in the edit bay with him for the next round of episodes, because I want to watch how they edit, because it's just so interesting to me. And so all of that's running through my mind. So I think the difference too is that this isn't just another gig. Like, I really am committed to what the end product is and what you guys get to see. I'm committed to the cast feeling like they have fun and that they want to be there, and not that they hate being there. I know for Double Agents, once Anissa, I think, sort of didn't want to do it, or was tired and or not feeling well even, and the producers, because there's a casting person who gets in touch with who's coming on, right? But when I heard that, I like text her and was like, hey sis, like, are you gonna come on? Like, and she did, and she made it happen, which was great. But it's like, yeah, having that relationship, I want it to be something that's fun for them. That's why I do the games too, is because some of the things we talk about can get heavy or stressful, and I want to end it where they're like having fun and like not feeling, you know, kind of bad or crappy about it or whatever else. And so I think I bring that uniquely in a way, and certainly not blowing up smoke. And I think the other reunion hosts have been great. Maria Menounos was actually the first person who ever told me I should be a host. She hosted my Real World reunion, and she pulled me aside and said, you should do hosting. And at the time I looked at her like she had 3 heads, because I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm an actress. But Maria was right. And so, yeah, they're wonderful. But I think just having that tie of like being in the family is a different, and then being sort of obsessed with the job, like loving it. I think that's a combination that you don't get anywhere else.
I love the fact you keep bringing up games. We've got a couple coming up later. Stay tuned. We just can't stop messing around. Quickly though, on that, what do we as fans have to do to get you to be the reunion host?
I appreciate that. I appreciate all the comments and tweets, and they're so funny. Some of them, someone was like, if Devyn doesn't host the reunion, we riot. Like, I love
that was me.
Love you guys.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love you. I was telling my boyfriend about it, and I was just like, oh my God, like I love that. Thank you. There was a petition someone started like a last like Double Agent season, or maybe All-Star season, I think, that's still on like change.org, that got almost 5,000 signatures. Signing that, like, I think if you just type Devyn Simone reunion host, it'll literally like come up in Google. Signing that, being vocal and tweeting at MTV on Twitter, or commenting on the Challenge MTV's page, DMing it to the Challenge MTV, because I know who handles Challenge MTV social, and the social team is certainly behind me hosting. They don't make the final call though, but if there's enough push for that, I already think that they're listening. I think the fact that we did this promo shoot, like the global report, and there will be more clips of that coming throughout the season. Yes, that is it. Yes, that is the change.org petition. But I think they're listening. So keep putting it on. If it's something you feel compelled to do, because I'd be happy to have that job. Although I love Aftermath, I'd be honored to continue that in the reunion. Keep tweeting them, keep tagging them on Instagram, DMing them, and telling them like, you're stupid not to. I think they're finally coming around.
And if they won't, me and Levi will start that long overdue riot. I'm not previous.
And I'm fully prepared.
Us two in London, just like, we need more Challenge fans in England. This is really...
Do you remember, George, our reunion podcast? I said to George, the first thing, he was like, did you enjoy the reunion? I was like, no. He said, why not? I said, because Vernon Davis is not the wonderful Devyn Simone.
So sweet. And some of those, like, I know Nathan Burleson, I forgot which reunion he did, but he just got promoted to do CBS this morning. Shout out to Nathan. Congratulations. Like, they're all wonderful. And I want it to be the best reunion in whatever way. I do think MTV has missed opportunities, but I'm grateful for the ones that I have, and grateful for you guys to support. Like, honestly, that's half the win for me, if not more so. So I'm happy, but feel free to stay on their necks. And I do think that they are listening. And I fully still, even at this point, you know, I've seen 6 episodes so far. We're about to shoot more aftermaths coming up, but MTV is so unpredictable. For all I know, they still will hire some, you know, tennis player or whatever else. Although if it were Serena, I'd be down for that, to host the reunion show, you know, after all this, which would be sort of dumb, but you know. You never know.
Just to slightly come back to Aftermath as well, the bit you mentioned about the things you missed from the main series, I love the fact you release who voted for who on the Aftermath. I think that's brilliant touch. Was that a conscious decision not to do it on the show, to kind of have some more drama happening as the season airs, as people find out about it? Or was it just let's actually keep it completely anonymous in the season? Was there a reason behind that?
It was to let it keep it completely anonymous in the season. They didn't even come up with the idea of actually releasing the voting until we were in development for Aftermath. And then they were sort of like, ooh, this would be great. Again, our executive producer, Jonathan Henry, is like brilliant and a genius in that way. And he geeks out, I feel like, over his work the same way I do mine. So I love that. And so he's always thinking about the fans as well. And so because there's so many cross teams, because you have to understand, when we're doing these Aftermaths, these episodes aren't done yet necessarily. So like some of the episodes I watched were what are called like string outs, meaning it's not even fully edited. It's literally just clips of what the story is and what it's going to be. So you're like digging to try and like put all of this together. And when we were told that information was available, our executive producer was like, oh my God, amazing. And then we got TJ involved, and props to TJ for being involved and doing the intro. So it made it great. And yeah, it's fun because it's surprising. And some of them are expected. And then some of them people are surprised by, how other people voted. So, and we'll see that play out on Aftermath as well, which will make for an interesting reunion too, right? Because you're seeing these things, people may be saying things in the house and you think one thing and you're seeing sort of this other side.
And
the more TJ,
you can watch the Challenge Aftermath every single week on the Challenge YouTube channel with the wonderful Devyn Simone.
The more TJ Lavin on my screen, the better. Where do I sign up to that man's school of aging? It just gets more and more handsome.
Right? I mean, he literally looks amazing. And can I say that a geek out moment for me was when TJ, in that clip, when he's like, Devyn, I know you love the tea, because I just think back to when I came in the Challenge house the first time, and TJ looked at me like, who is this? Like girly girl princess with high heel, like, because I was probably one of, if not the girliest or like just prissiest challenger to really come on the show, like full bag of makeup. I'd have makeup sessions with the girls in the house. And so I think in the beginning, TJ really was like, what is this? And as he'd watch me compete, was a little like, what is this? And then when he saw me complete the final the first time, I think was kind of like, okay, she didn't quit, like I can respect it. But when I finished the final the second time, I mean, he literally was so kind and was like, because they had taken bets that I wouldn't finish the final. I found out after the fact, producers and TJ. Oh yeah. And so when I did, he was just so, you could tell his perspective really changed, and he really like, I could feel the respect from TJ. So I love that. So having a moment, we're now in the Aftermath, I'm hosting it and TJ's giving me the tea, like I'm pulling him over to my side a little bit of like, let's get messy, TJ, and let's like play a little bit, is such a dream come true. I love that.
All I ever want to do is make TJ proud. It just make me so happy.
Right?
I just crave his approval. The episode last season where he was like, we made Dad sad, I found hilarious.
Yeah.
But I did want to touch on this actually as well. I know you don't have favourites, but are there any rookies this season from the international ones especially who've like really impressed you and we should keep our eye on throughout the season? Without you don't have to spoilers alone, obviously, you're fine.
Yeah, and side note, if you hear that loud noise in the background, my dog's currently snoring on the couch, so apologies. But who rookies internationally? I mean, I will say this: there's some sexy ass rookies, but as who? I mean, obviously, I don't have favorites. Yeah, I can't give anything away, but I will just say, we get to see some very interesting conversations and personalities in Emmy, in Huey. I was a fan of Kel's from Too Hot to Handle, simply because he was always the one counting the money left and getting pissed at people for like losing money, and so he's very serious about it. So
he's an accountant, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's very like, regimented in that way. So yeah, there's a lot of the international. It's just so great that we're adding that in, yeah, you get to see a lot Berna, like there, and I think everybody will have their favorite, and the ones that they don't like, and it's just a really well-rounded season. It really is a well-rounded season.
And I think the great thing as well with the challenge nowadays is it's evolved into what is, I think, one of the most visually fantastic cinematography reality shows. Like, whoever is producing, editing, grading, dubbing that show needs to get Emmys. They need to be getting Emmys.
God. I agree. And you know, if there was ever one thing that made me want to go back, it was watching, which they won't show yet. I mean, you've seen it in trailers, but they haven't seen it. Amber B step out of that Lambo and them getting ushered to the house in a convoy of Benzes. Where was that? Because we had a broke down coach bus when I was on the challenge. I got left on the back of the coach bus at one point, almost died. That's the whole thing. Apparently, that's a story that still gets told within the challenge house every season, and as a cautionary tale. So yeah, like we didn't have all of these like things that all the pyrotechnics, like it's amazing. And it's like a movie every time, every season, and it's getting bigger and better. And especially now that it's global, and I'm just, yeah, it's amazing to watch. It's so cool.
You with 5 Uruguayans. That was it, was it?
Yes, the 5 Uruguayan men. You guys, I really thought I was going to be a sex slave. I'm not kidding. Like, I thought I was going to be a sex slave. And we were doing Aftermath this season. Who was I sitting next to? Was it Nelson? Maybe I was sitting next to Nelson. And I forgot how it like came up or something. And Nelson was like, "That was you?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "They still tell that story every season in the show." I'm glad they don't always associate my name with it. But yes, I blame CT partially for that, production and CT. And I'm here. I was not a sex slave. And the Uruguayan men were quite kind to return me to my home.
I almost imagine after you tell Nelson that, the first thing he does is gets his phone out, texts Corey going, "It was Devyn." And he's like, "Yes, that's what I told you, Nelson."
Yeah, that's probably true, because Corey knew, or though maybe was it Corey asking that? It was someone I hadn't like seen in person. But yeah, apparently Nani has told me that they tell it every year pretty much, because she was there. I think she was a part of the fight, I think, of why I got left on the bus that night. And yeah, it was just, yeah. Don't have CT as your bus partner is just the moral of the story. Don't have CT as your bus partner.
Well, we've talked about a lot of challenges, and you don't have favorites, but last season we had Cyrus, we had your namesake, Devyn Walker, and we had Amber, I refuse to say the B, on the podcast, and we played a little word association game. It's kind of our thing. So we're going to do the same for you. We're going to give you a few names of challenges, past and present, and we would like you to describe them in one word.
Ooh, okay.
So George, why don't you start this one off?
Let's start with your real world cast. Sarah Rice?
Oh God. You would. Seriously? Smart.
Chet?
Hilarious.
Bananas?
Respect.
Zach?
I respect him.
No, you can use that. That's fine.
He was great. In my time with him, Zach was great. The things he's done afterwards and things I've heard he said has been terrible. So it's hard only because I know my experience with him, aside from how he treated Sam, which I did not like. He was always good to me, but things I've heard, and I'm not even fully familiar with it all, it sounds god awful in the back end. So is my answer. Yeah.
George, you want to go for the next one?
Oh, yeah, it's my go. Sorry. Frank.
Also smart?
Yeah.
Let's go with one of your double agents finalists, Laurel.
Love.
So free agents finalists. They're all rolling into one.
Yeah. Love.
Oh.
Cara? Oh, why did my voice go higher there? That was weird.
Yeah, you did. What,
yeah.
Talk about that, George?
No,
nervous, George. Nervous.
Always.
Great. I'm gonna amend this. I know I'm breaking the rules. 2 words because it's hard with some. Great competitor.
Yeah. There's a hyphen in those words, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here's one.
Completes a anyone who completes a digging challenge with a broken wrist, like, fair play.
Yeah, great competitor.
I think this one's going to be very positive. Nanny.
Love. I love none.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
George has gone mute.
A very lovely man. Nam?
Oh.
Hot. I mean, really? Yeah.
Our next one, I think we've touched on him, but we just want one word. Kyle.
Hilarious.
And just while George has disappeared, let's go with reigning champ, Amber, not saying the B.
I feel like that should be her name now. If Amber won't say the B, or like that should be her full title. Sweet, beautiful. Yeah, Amber's great.
I'm going to give you another sweet, beautiful woman. The British Queen, Big T.
Adore.
Josh as well.
Sweet, softy. I know he gets a lot of hate on Reddit, and people, he has like a love-hate. His energy, you guys, in person, like he is just a big teddy bear, honestly. Like a big teddy bear.
I've fast switched my opinions on him because I've heard of how lovely he is with fans.
The cast seem to universally like him as well.
Yeah, and just those opinions that I still find him also like slightly irritating on the show, but just that opinion, I don't care how he acts on the show now. He seems like just a really decent guy.
Yeah, he really is. Big teddy bear.
Speaking of decent guys that George is a big fan of, Fessy.
I knew that was coming next. I actually love Fessy too. Now, my word for him would be trouble.
Nice.
But I love Fessy too in person. He's very sweet. He is a ladies' man. Like, that is the thing. And so that tells you a couple of things. One, he's obviously charming enough to keep getting these ladies, even though they know better. But it also means he's like a little bit of that guy, where he's gonna like, make moves. Like, they were up to some shenanigans while they were here filming Aftermath. But I love Fessy too. Like, good sport would probably be the word I'd use to describe him.
Also, I want to say full respect to him for doing the challenge during Ramadan when he's fasting and not able to eat and drink. Like, a lot of respect. There's
more depth to him than people, which is I think how he gets those girls. There's more depth than what is shown on the show, and he's a good-looking guy. I wouldn't touch him with a long-handled spoon because he's been through, he's going through the cast, knocking him out. But yeah, I think he's a good guy.
And whilst we've done a Big Brother lot, let's do Casey as well.
Sweet. So sweet.
Yeah. Michelle?
Smart and good. And I know I use smart as my safe word in some other instances. But no, she is smart. We didn't get to spend a ton of time together, but yeah, like just smart and, seem kind.
She's someone I'm actually quite intrigued for this season. Sorry, Eva.
She's absolutely beautiful as well. She's absolutely stunning.
Yes.
Speaking of absolutely stunning and also smart, let's go for the devil herself. She's owning it now. Amanda?
Hilarious. She's hilarious because, again, I love people who don't take themselves too seriously. And that girl will stir up some shit like nobody's business, but does kind of like own it and is playful. Like, Amanda's hilarious.
And her partner in crime, Ashley.
So Ashley, I haven't met in person. I've only just watched on the show. Her interviews are hilarious to me, and with that accent and her relationship, you guys watch her dynamic with Huey. It is effing hilarious. Like, it is, I can't even, it's so funny. Like, both like toxic and funny. Gotta watch. They're hilarious together. Like, yeah, so funny would be the word I'd use to describe her.
And speaking of Huey, actually, I remember him from his Big Brother UK season. His rants are unbelievable. I'll send you a YouTube video of one of his rants from Big Brother. It's literally the funniest thing. Yeah. But one word for Huey?
One word for Huey? Emotional.
And last and absolutely not least is Devyn.
Other Devyn, not you, Devyn.
Other Devyn. Smart.
He's very, very smart. We had him on the podcast. His brain is just works in ways.
I don't remember that podcast. Levi made me finish a bottle of gin. I got through 70 centiliters of gin in 45 minutes, and I was a wreck.
Wait, through the podcast?
Yeah. So basically, Devyn said to us before the podcast, he was like, I'll do it on one condition. You don't just give me a standard podcast that everyone gives me where they ask the same 12 questions. You're not allowed to mention bananas, Big Brother, or I can't remember what the other one was. And he said, Wes as well. And he said, make the podcast fun. So I text George, I said, what are you doing on Friday? And he was like, oh no, I've got quite an easy day at work. I was like, great, on Thursday night you need to drink a whole bottle of gin. And we literally, anytime I said any of those words, George had to do a shot, and obviously I put them in on purpose.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I love it.
I then had a 7:30 a.m. call, which got dropped in mid-pod, and while I was hammered and managed to make it. That was a really tricky day.
Props to you, George. Yes.
The English can drink, but we hate ourselves afterwards.
The best thing was, though, you thought that Devyn was drinking along with you, but Devyn had texted me beforehand saying, oh no, I'm not drinking at the moment, so I'll be on non-alcoholic beers. And I said, perfect, but can we not tell George? And he'll just keep going.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. Poor George, they set you up.
They really, not for the first time. There's something else that happened, which we might get to later. And actually,
that can't be the last one, George. There's got to be one more name there.
There is the most important name, and we've mentioned her before, but Tamara.
You know, I think about her often. I love her. And you know, she's looking down. Tamara is the reason why Aftermath exists. Like, she's looking down and making all of this happen. So you know, she is will forever be a cherished member of the challenge family. Yeah,
she actually. I devour like every post that comes into the Reddit, and there's always one. Like, once a month, someone says, "What's your weirdest and funniest moments from a show?" Without fail, that is like the first thing commented. Just a funeral. It's just like,
it's so funny because when we did it, like, I had no idea, obviously, that it would be what it was. Like, no clue. And getting the whole house behind it, I think the only person in the house that didn't participate was why can't I think of his name? Why can't I know his name? This is terrible because we were friends. I can't think of his name. But there's only one person that didn't. Preston was the only one who didn't come down and like be a part of that. And again, it's rare that you see the cast, I think, fully come together, right? And sober. Like, we weren't hammered, really. We were just silly. Come together in something like that. It shows how many lives Tamara touched. Yeah. And
all the lives.
Yeah. It did.
Everyone's life.
It really did touch everyone's life and touched my head. And then, you know, and then she went on to you know, bigger and better place in League Heaven.
I loved watching Leroy just comfort you.
Leroy is like arguably, if not the funniest, certainly one of the funniest people on the challenge. He used to just do like basically stand-up shows, like on the bus rides to challenges and back. Leroy, I could listen to that man tell stories for hours. He's so funny.
One of my favorite Leroy moments of all time is during the elimination between Avery and Naya, and he goes, you get that hook on that bitch. I'm sorry for calling you a bitch. It's like, comedic timing is perfect.
Yeah, he's so good. And like, he was terrified of Laurel at one point because he had voted Laurel in or something like that. And he was like, don't come for me. And he was like making it known, like, everything. He's like, don't look at me. She's looking at me. Stop looking at me. Like, it was all of it. So funny.
What's great is it really seems like you love that, your experience on the show, and you love your experience now where you're still a part of the show, but you're doing it as part of a job that you've always dreamed of. Safely as well. And you know, that's a job you've always dreamed of. Well, George has always dreamed of being a challenger. So I was thinking, how can I make George's dreams come true? Because obviously I attempted to give him alcohol poisoning last time we had a Devyn on the show. So I thought, now we have another Devyn on the show, and this time the wonderful Devyn Simone. The way I could make his dream come true to be a challenger is maybe I could ask you, Devyn, could you imagine that George is on the Aftermath? He's just beaten someone in elimination. Let's be positive. And could you just give him a quick little interview?
This is much nicer than your last prank to me, Levi. Thank you.
So, George, that elimination looked pretty tough, but I mean, you managed to knock them over the ledge. How did you feel going into that? Were you afraid? Did you think you were going to beat Fessy?
I mean, the fact I was up against Fessy, CT, and Kells by myself in a tutu was ridiculous, and I just dug deep. I thought of Nelson, and I wanted to get revenge for him from the previous season.
Yeah. And the fact that, I mean, this was the last elimination before the final. So this is your first challenge, your first time going into the final. How are you scared in this moment? Are you feeling really high because you just beat some of the greats? And who are you going to pick as your partner?
Well, I haven't been able to stand up since the elimination because they've absolutely ruined me. And I've spoken to MTV, and we're bringing in a mercenary for my final. I'm bringing my co-host Levi.
That is a twist. They love their twist. That is so wonderful. I love that. And so are you confident in your partner Levi, or do you feel like it's going to be a lost cause from the get-go?
There's a reason I asked him. I want my own heroic moment. I want to be Kenny carrying Wes on Rivals, and I'll definitely have to carry him because he's forgotten how to run.
That's totally fair. And Levi, how do you feel to be able to be the partner of George?
Well, I mean, with George, he has so many positive skills that he's shown throughout the challenge. And I think what's great is I have very little positive skills, but those muscles are going to sling me over that shoulder, going to take us up the mountain. And if I have to eat, a rabbit, I'll eat a rabbit. If I have to eat a scorpion, I'll eat a scorpion. But we are going to cross that finish line, George. I may be dead, but we are going to win that show.
Even if you're dead, I'll get you over the finish line. I love you, buddy.
I also love rabbits. So anyone that heard that and feels like I hate rabbits, I'm very, very sorry.
Don't eat a rabbit. My God, Levi. Jeez. Well, I hope to have you on the Aftermath couch one day. I mean, look, it's never too late. You guys can put together a video.
Well, the thing is, Devyn, if you have us on the Aftermath couch, there is one thing that will need to be done at the end of the Aftermath show. And I think it's the one thing that we will do with you at the end of our show. Yes, that's right. It's your favorite. It's game time.
Yeah. Great segue, Levi. I love
it. So as you're aware, as we've already told you, we have a tradition on Redditors React podcast where anytime we have someone called Devyn on the show, the tradition is I have to get George drunk. So with this trivia game, Devyn versus George, if you get a question right first, so it's just a shout out really, George must do a shot. And if George gets it right first, George must do a shot. So it's a win-win for everyone involved.
Bastard! I need to go to the gym after this. I'm going to die. And this section is sponsored by Zabrowska Vodka, the only vodka with bison grass.
It's not sponsored. No one wants to sponsor this podcast. But George, just to make this fair on Devyn, every single one of these questions is a question that Devyn has previously asked the challengers on the challenge Aftermath with the wonderful Devyn Simone.
You are such a tool.
And they are all from last season of Double Agents. So, are we ready?
Game time, Devyn.
Game time. All right.
We'll do hand up, and because that's what the audio listeners want. And then I'll say who's answering. So, question one. There are 7 questions. What show did Nam appear on before the challenge?
Ultimate Beastmaster.
George. It was Ultimate Beastmaster. George, you have to do a shot.
Good job.
Damn it. If I get question 7 right, that's going to be a miracle.
Here we go. Oh, next one. Who did Corey hook up with on...
Oh, shit.
Devyn, Battle of the Bloodlines?
Oh God, I'm gonna fail this. Wait, Anissa. I asked Corey this question. Oh wait, Anissa?
Yes. How did you get that? It was Anissa. George, shot. Oh,
you're such a shithouse.
Well, Anissa does set her eyes on every season.
Yeah, I think in the Global Activation episode, she seemed quite keen on Logan.
Yeah, Logan is fine though. I mean, there's so many, but Anissa literally sets her every season. That's what we come to expect from Anissa. Yeah. And at this point, winning the first challenge, because she's been great at that, this is what think her third time winning the first one in a row, but then also setting her eyes on someone.
I kind of imagine Anissa's vision is like Predator, just like target.
She just goes in. She's like laser focused. You get it, girl.
Speaking of challengers who love a hookup, not anymore because he's about to become a father. Big mazel tov to Kyle there. Who was Kyle's vendetta on Vendettas? George.
Rogan.
It was Rogan. Do a shot, please, George.
Yeah. You guys, I get them all. I have like brain connectivity of they all blur together because we film these all so fast. So
I was literally thinking I was thinking what could give Devyn the biggest advantage in this, and it seems to be the biggest disadvantage.
It's the biggest disadvantage only because it's so many people and so many stories that in order for me to be present in whatever interview when I'm doing the aftermath, this probably makes it less fun, is I sort of not block it out, but kind of like try to just look at that season as that season and not look at the other stuff. One, for any new viewers that are coming in that may not know a ton of the histories, you know, and two, because then I would start calling people the wrong, like getting things wires crossed and things mixed up because it's so much information over time, you know, like over time. So anyway,
in which case, I'm going to help you out here and just give you a basic geography question. Because it is a basic geography question that Anissa previously got wrong in a trivia challenge.
Yeah, I think I was there for that one. Yeah.
What country in the world has the largest population?
I was there for that when she got it wrong, and watch me now get it wrong. I want to say it's India. Oh wait, I didn't raise my hand.
It's all right.
Is it China?
Should we pretend that you raised your hand first? It is China, yes.
Did George, she say India? Is it because I think
she said Asia. She said, "Is it Africa?" Right. Oh no, Africa's a continent. I'm going to go with Asia, which is also a continent.
At least, yes. I should know that one.
Okay, question 5, and we are including Lolo Jones, even though she was on a spin-off beforehand. How many rookies were on Double Agents?
Oh,
Devyn.
Did I even raise my hand like I knew how many? 7.
Look at me.
Oh, 10.
It is 10. How did you get that, George? Do another shot.
I'm terrible at this game. Oh my God.
I'm drunk.
Let's this should help you, hopefully, Devyn, because we don't get Big Brother America.
I literally was there for some of the answers to these questions, and I still didn't get them right.
Well, we don't get Big Brother America over here, so George literally has no way of knowing this. And you did ask this on the challenge aftermath with the wonderful Devyn Simone. Yeah. Who had a better finish on Big Brother, Amber or Fessy?
Ooh. Oh God. Yeah, no, I know I should do that. I mean, I don't remember the answer to that either. Fessy.
It was Fessy. George, do a shot.
Doesn't matter. Big Brother sucks. Eat my ass.
Which is ironically how he ended the last Devyn podcast with that exact phrase.
Yeah. I shouted that at Devyn when I was blitzed.
But I am afraid, George,
just trying to get on a rival season.
I'm afraid you've said it too early because there is one more question. The score is currently George drunk, Devyn winning. So question 7. Which season were Corey and Devyn partners on? Not you, Devyn Walker.
Yes.
George's hand is up. George's hand is up, but we're going to give it to Devyn. We're going to give it to Devyn as she's the guest.
No, George should answer. George, answer.
I mean, I lose either way, but it's final reckoning.
Yeah.
It is final reckoning, so can you have your final shot, please?
You guys have given me a whole... I now, for the first time, feel the... Like, sometimes when the cast we're doing these games, especially when we did them in person this time, they get so flustered and so nervous about answering. Yeah. I'm like, you guys, it's just... I know, get it! Because I knew many of those answers and couldn't in the moment. You're like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah, I know, it's weird. I feel a little bad for them.
I attend quite a lot of pub quizzes, and only because my new favorite game is to make my pub quiz team name is I wish this microphone was a penis. So the person leading it has to say that all the time with no context.
That's hilarious.
It really annoys them. I'm banned from a lot of quizzes, but it's so worth it.
I went to a pub quiz once, and our team name was "And the Winners Are," and we came like 7th, and they were going through all the lists. So they were like, "Oh, in 8th place, Christina Aguilera. In 7th place, and the winners are," and then everyone went, no, you got to do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 first before you announce the winner. I was like, yeah, that was me.
So good. I love that. Oh, I'm totally going to use that, guys. Thank you. Yeah. I'm totally going to use that. Levi's
actually a real life troll. He doesn't do it on the internet. He's brave enough to do it in person.
In person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the rare breed, Levi.
I am a lovely person. Some would say wonderful. And speaking of wonderful, the wonderful Devyn Simone, it has been fantastic having you here on the Challenge Redditors React. We've enjoyed chatting to you so much. And hopefully, George, we've got some hosting tips off her.
Oh, yeah. I can only aspire to be the best. But
you guys are amazing.
We're putting that on our Instagram profile. Quote.
Sorry, no one said anything. I'm committing that to memory forever. There we go. That was the nicest compliment.
You guys are good, and your segues are fabulous. You guys are excellent hosts. And George doing it drunk. I mean, you look drunk, but you're doing a great job. You guys.
I always look like this.
We try to be the consummate professional, but there is only one consummate professional when it comes to the Challenge Aftermath, and it is the wonderful Devyn Simone. Devyn, thank you so much. Honestly, we've had such a great time chatting to you.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for watching and for being a part of the Challenge family. I know everyone, just the whole Challenge family, really appreciate all of you guys. So thank you for doing this. I think you're gonna love this season. It's gonna be really interesting and funny, and so many great characters. And thank you for your support.
And the great thing as well is that not only can people watch the Challenge every single week, every Wednesday on MTV at 8/7 Central, but at 9:30 Eastern, you can go straight onto the Challenge YouTube channel and watch the Challenge Aftermath with the wonderful Devyn Simone, where the tea is spilled and we find out who votes for who. And then if you want to follow Devyn even more, you can do so on Instagram and Twitter at Devyn Simone. Am I correct there?
Oh my God, look at you. You are forever a pro. That is 1,010% true, for sure. Yes, and thank you.
But yes, thank you so much for coming on. And we look forward to just seeing how your career continues to develop. And everyone sign that petition, Devyn Simone for the Challenge reunion.
Thank you so much, guys. And I can't wait to listen to more of your podcasts and hear your takes on how you guys think the season is going.
What an absolutely wonderful woman.
She's just so, I think you summed it up better in the intro, which we have only just recorded. She's so charismatic and so lovely. Like, it's just an absolute pleasure to speak to her.
You know how people say things like, when people talk about people on TV and they literally jump out the screen at you and you can see their real personality. I feel like that's Devyn.
Yeah, that's a good, like, what the TV version of stage presence that they say theatre actors have. She's got that in
screen presence.
Yeah, screen presence. That will work actually. I could have just used that, but yeah, absolutely. She's so good at what she does. Also, really good interviewee. Like, I imagine it's quite hard to put yourself back in that stage when you're so used to being the interviewer. But she gave us a load of insight. She cracked me up about 7 times. Her dog is adorable.
Oh, little Brooklyn, little 91-year-old Brooklyn.
Yeah, that is an old dog. Looks great though. Very youthful hairline. I could take some tips from that. But yeah, just end to end. Absolutely loved it. Loved every second about it. Still don't love the fact that you keep screwing me over in the quizzes. I would have won that round.
George, it is a Challenge Redditors React tradition when we have guests on. See, you're doing another one now. What I'm going to let you do, George, is I'm going to let you head back to your kitchen, drink some water, and sober up, because you and me are going to be continuing the conversation later on this week after episode 2 of the Challenge, Spies, Lies and Allies goes out. We'll obviously be watching the Challenge Aftermath with the wonderful Devyn Simone after we've watched episode 2 before we record the podcast. And again, just have to say thank you so much, Devyn, for joining us on the podcast and allowing us just to have a conversation with you. And you can all continue the conversation. Don't forget to follow Devyn over on Instagram and Twitter at Devyn Simone. Continue the conversation over on Reddit. Chat with us over on Instagram and Twitter at Challenge React. And we will see all of you, or I guess you'll see us and you'll hear us later on in the week as we react to episode 2 of the challenge, Spies, Lies, and Allies.